Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Dreamy, your host for this podcast. For those of you who listened to last week's episode, Healing by Hair with Blake Clingman, I hope you were inspired by the incredibly impactful role hairdressers have on mental health in the communities they serve. And even though Blake is my hairdresser, it was an eye-opening and even tear-jerking experience to lift up the curtain, so to speak, and see behind the scenes the work of a salon professional. This week's episode is a continuation of my conversation with Blake. She and I are going to explore how she takes care of her own mental health. And she also provides some great resources we all can use, regardless of industry or job title, to help take better care of ourselves and each other. This is E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy.
It can be challenging days, but it can also be really fun. And I can leave on an up, on high feelings. And then other days I leave just emotionally or socially, even just exhausted from being social all day. Doesn't necessarily mean there was good or bad socializing. It was just 8 hours of talking all day, with different people about different things, not just my business meeting or, those things. And like I mentioned earlier, we need to be on that whole time for everybody. We have to set some boundaries ourselves. I could count on one hand how many clients I've personally had to end the relationship with because they were not good for my mental well-being in the salon. And it took me a long time, years, to realize like that was okay to not take the person that can kind of ruin my day for me or has the ability to affect me in such a negative way and impact my feelings in such a negative way. I finally got the courage and the nerve to realize this is my space here. I don't have to allow certain feelings in if I don't want to. I wouldn't even say it's feelings, but maybe certain personality types that just have a consistent negative impact on me. Like I've mentioned, we're all allowed to have bad days, bad weeks, bad months. But when they become chronic, it's hard. It's hard to stay positive around somebody who's chronically not positive. But that's not an easy decision. That's never been a fun thing to do either. The couple times I've had to do that, it's hard to not take that personal when it is very personal. And people come in, they talk about their sex lives. They talk about their child's anger issues, things they're going through at school. It's just all over the map what we hear in the world. And if we could be able to support them and offer them a place to feel safe to say all these things and to celebrate the good things, like that's a goal for hairdressers and salons environments. That's what it should be. You should feel great about yourself when you leave, inside and out. Not just about your hair, not necessarily just about your feelings. It should be the whole package. Should be even like 2% better than when you walked in, depending on how you walked in, But I got some statistics for you from the American Psychiatric Association, specifically related to hairstylists and therapy. They took a poll of 10,000 people across our country, and 1 to 3 people see a stylist for therapy for their mental health.
Wow.
That's roughly 88% of people who go to the salon are going for some form of therapy, whether they realize they're getting it in the moment or not, or needing it in the moment or not. People come in here and I'm just having kind of a rough day. I'm going to take that blowout today instead of when I normally might skip it because it's saving me time and money. But today is not a great day, so I want that blow. Well, if that little bit of time and great hair is going to make you feel better and that was the therapy you needed today, like I'm happy to provide that. If it is also you just needed to sit in the suck with someone, I'm happy we could do that. But 74% of people have reported the stylist has offered emotional support during more than one or more of their appointments. These are high numbers, 88%, 75%. Here's one that's a little more sad. 72% of people who commit suicide have not received mental health care in those 12 months. leading up to their death. But a very high number of them have had multiple hair and beauty treatments in those 12 months. Again, not going to like, we should be preventing their suicide, but maybe if we had the education and knowledge to recognize some symptoms or some behaviors that might present that, to maybe have the ability to maybe check in and see how they are doing on not just, oh, how you doing today? Yeah. Really feel out, open up the door to let them be able to kind of speak or check in if they're okay. Especially when you know these people. Sometimes you start to see emotion when someone walks in. If they're like, buzzing in, they probably just had a great day or great week. If they're coming in with their shoulders down a little bit and big sigh when they sit down, and that's a tough day, right? Or a I need a minute day. So out of the 72% of suicides, we could maybe help recognize that, at least to maybe help them be able to feel a little bit better about themselves. And definitely not just on the physical appearance level. All of those higher numbers being said, a very low number of people, 37% of people, admitted that there are topics in their lives they did not want to bring up to their stylist as they felt it might present an awkward conversation or an awkward moment. And I think it's interesting, we have 88% of people seeking therapy from their stylists, and only 37% are bashful about what they're going to say maybe to their stylist. So I think that speaks volumes and how much people trust their hairstylists. And that's a privilege for us. That's a big deal to earn somebody's intimate trust. As I've mentioned, I know a lot of things about people's lives. Once you start to get to know people and their emotions, you get a connection together that you can offer each other some relief. Sometimes people listen to me. You've listened to me. I've told you before, I've had a really, really hard week, or really, and we've probably teared up before in here too. Doing this podcast stems from an emotional place for you, and you encouraging me to do it comes emotionally to me because you are pushing your boundaries by creating this. And I really support your movement that you're trying to create with this. And I think it is so important in the workplace to feel supported. So I really was intrigued by the work you were doing, but you also might remember I laughed in your face and said no when you asked me if I would record this podcast for you.
I'm persistent.
So, but then I thought I watched some episodes of your podcast to kind of get an idea of what you were going for, and realizing, I have important content that I can share that I feel like needs to be addressed. To just creating empathy, the whole point of this podcast, not only in our workspace with employees, but in our community with our clients. We all have things going on, good and bad, right? We all do. And it's naive to think that someone might not be having something bad going on because, their Instagram presents life is great. We all should be a little more humble to just listening. Now I felt like I'm going to push my comfort zone and do this podcast with you. But let's also say she was very, very persistent, and it just kind of landed on the schedule before I ever said yes. But in the most humbling, kind way. I've been very honest about my nervousness with it, and I've asked her probably more questions than anybody else asked her before it. She supported me the whole way and feeling comfortable to do this, even by doing this on location. Because for me, being in my space where I am myself all day, where I am talking to my people all day, I'm the most comfortable recording this. So thank you for that. Like, we pushed each other from a bad place. Absolutely. To pushing our boundaries. This podcast came for you from a hard time of your life, and we've talked about it and we've shared these moments. And now I'm pushing myself in an uncomfortable way, and maybe now your next guest can feel a little more encouraged to come on. You've even mentioned you've had some nervous guests before. That helps me feel better. Absolutely. Again, communication, right? Just this whole thing. Let's just communicate and support each other. And I think that's an important part of what we need to do in the community. And it's a good place to start in our salon because, as we mentioned a few times, everybody's coming into a salon. of some sort at some point. We can change the environment of a salon to be not so much about the gossip as you say it used to be, because there's definitely gossip.
Sure.
People love to hear the juicy stories and tell the juicy stories, but maybe also just discussing them instead of talking about them. If that, maybe understanding why the juicy is juicy instead of
dig deeper.
Yeah, instead of just, can you believe? So I hope with these therapy programs that we've discussed that can help evolve our industry a little more. Going all the way back to your original question about our industry being such an intricate part of mental health in the communities, hopefully we can bridge the gap and offer resources for people who might not even know they're looking for them. We might not know we need to offer them to somebody, but sometimes that stuff just presents itself. And it's like the perfect opportunity I should do this. We should all be doing that. Not just in your job, but in our lives. But if we can start small, it's a great place to start.
Absolutely. And I think it's so powerful to just hear all the stories that you took me through, because I would even argue that there is an even more trusting relationship hairstylist to client than there is therapist to client.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, the things that people tell you are probably feel more safe telling you than they would even their own therapist. I don't have any cool statistics on it, but I would argue that that's probably the case for a lot of people. So I do think that there is a huge opportunity for this industry to create a pretty powerful impact on human health in the future. Yeah. So I hope all these little pockets of movements that are happening in London and Africa and in barbershops, that they continue to prosper and thrive. Because I invited you into this podcast because I saw the light in you. Like, you have a light that shines. All the people I interview have a light that shines, and that's why I interviewed them. They're not celebrities, they're not famous, they're not experts, they're just humans. We're all human beings living our lives and doing the best we can to take care of other people. And I want to lift those people up. And you are one of those people who has made a huge impact on my life.
Thank you.
And my health.
Thank you.
Without even knowing it.
Right.
It. So you just took me through this crazy roller coaster of a conversation where I'm getting teared up, you're getting teared up. This is what you do every day. How on earth do you take care of yourself? I mean, we talked a lot about, you mentioned the mental health counselor I interviewed. We talked about sitting in the suck with people. Mm-hmm. She sits in the suck with people all day long as a therapist.
Absolutely.
She told me I get compassion fatigue. At the end of the day, I have to come home to my family, to my children, and somehow give to them the same level of active listening and compassion that I was just giving to people all day long. And it's hard.
So hard.
So what do you do for self-care? How do you take care of your own mental health?
It is so hard. Exactly. Everything you said. When I leave here in the evenings or the late afternoons, I'm exhausted. And it's so much more the mental than the physical of just standing all day. We don't realize until I'm necessarily sitting in my car out in the parking lot and I turn the car on and I just kind of take a breath, and I don't even realize it sometimes that I'm taking that breath. But I always, when I'm done, I'm like, oh, okay, that was a lot. Sometimes I don't even want to listen to music when I drive home. That's even too much stimulation. Fortunately for myself, I live alone, so I'm going home to an empty house. Unfortunately for my family and my boyfriend and my friends who all try to reach out to me after work know that I don't want anything to do with any of them when I get off work. And it's not personal, not one bit. I don't, like you said, I don't have anything left to give them. And that's not fair to either one of us. It's not fair for me to try to force that. It's not fair for them not to receive it from me. Not to say, I don't mind a few quick text exchange or something, but I don't want to have the hour-long phone call, with my sister, or the hour-long phone call with my parents or boyfriend, or that we, some people would normally do in the evenings. And in relationships, the people I am close with like that in my life, they all do know at this point. I've had to verbalize because I don't want them to take offense to, yes, I'm ignoring your phone call because I don't have anything to give you. I don't have anything to give myself. That's something that I do notice for me a lot, is being able to disconnect digitally for a little bit in the evenings or on the weekends is really nice, because even though I might be alone, I can still be on social media or texting for long periods of time with family and friends, and that's not really mental relaxation for me. My morning, because I know my evenings are shot, sometimes I might leave here at 3 in the afternoon, sometimes I might leave at 8 in the evening. And what I have learned over all the years, no matter what time I leave, I'm done. So I have, over the years, kind of morphed myself into being much more of a morning person. I'm an early riser naturally. So instead of just being lazy in the mornings, I decided I'm going to be lazy in the evenings to allow my decompression to happen. And, my mornings are very regimented. I walk the dog, I exercise, I eat like a meal. I sit at the table with my breakfast and my coffee and a podcast. And that's very ritualistic to me, to have that silence and before I come in to get ready for my day. I might do chores in the morning, laundry, dishes, run some errands. Some days I don't come in until after lunch, so I can get a lot done. Yeah. But then, that also being said, I am tired when I get here because I've had a half to a full day of exercise and activity leading up to. But then I know that my reprieve in that is that when I'm done at the salon, I'm done. Nutrition and exercise is really important to me. And I can tell when those are both off track for me. I can tell my mental, not just in my physical, but my mental. When I'm in a good workout regimen in the mornings, and it's not even an aggressive, it's just consistency. I can tell I have so much more energy for the day, natural energy. I feel ready and not like this coming in, and these are all things we all kind of know. We know diet and exercise are better for us mentally as well as just physically. But those are two things important to me. I'm very outdoorsy, so I make sure, I'm hiking a lot. I travel, we go kayaking. Like, I just try to go to the pool, go to the beach. I know that fresh air is good for me. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. That's just kind of my own personal way I help manage myself. L'Oreal Professionals has a program that is for hairdressers called Head Up. And it's free program. For those of you who don't know, L'Oreal pretty much owns the entire beauty industry. They own brand names that we have all been hearing of for ages. So they kind of have their toe in the water in every part of beauty. But in our industry, they offer a program that is specifically designed to guide hairstylists how to metabolize everything we just talked about in our days.
That's cool.
How to not dwell on messing up someone's hair. Maybe not messing it up, but not to your standard. Or maybe the client was disappointed in the final result. How to metabolize that, how to metabolize the emotions that the client has shared with you or the emotions you've shared with the client, and also how to take care of yourself. They offer, it's a workbook and a series of videos. Like I said, it's free, so any hairdresser can go check it out. They do talk about the importance of your nutrition and your sleep, and they go over breathing exercises and talk about creating connection in your own work environment through employees, to where if I need to event something about a specific emotional interaction I had with a client, I can express it to either one of my coworkers freely, and I can trust them with that information. And I also know they understand what that means from our perspective, be it related to hair or emotions. I think that's important to help metabolize, is that we can each provide something for each other to support each other. And we can each recognize, almost what I was saying earlier about the client relationship with the stylist, we are able to recognize each other coming in, something's off. So let me just be aware that something's not quite right for her today. Or, okay, she seems maybe a little angry today. I'm just going to stay out of her, or irritable. Or, oh, she's so excited. I can't wait to hear what, the day. But being aware of the people around you's tones and emotions, and hopefully they're being aware of yours. And that helps me too, to know, like I said, I have some people that it's safe to just vent to about work. And it's not going to leave those walls. And I also have gone through therapy through different chapters of my life, not so much pertaining to my job and what the emotional weight I carry home, but I'm a big advocate for that, whether people need it through phases of life or as a constant. I think it's a great tool that has helped me in my own life. I really enjoy seeing my clients. Even if it comes in and we're going to sit and suck, that's okay. I'm glad we can do it together. And that helps me to not feel like I need to carry it home because we did it together. I have a skill I have been told by various employers over my life. I don't have the answer to give to this question, but I've been asked and I'm complimented on how do you leave your own baggage at the door as a professional? Because where your employer might know what's going on in your life, right? So when you come in, and if you can be on and they know what's going on outside, that's a great tool, an ability. And not everybody has that ability. Some situations it's harder to kind of turn that on and off. I don't know how I am capable of doing that so well, but I kind of always have been. My father used to always just kind of talk about work ethics and building professionalism, never burning bridges, and just getting me ready for a professional adult life. And I kind of think a lot of that stems from that is like, this is my job and I have to present with people and to people. So I need to leave my emotions in my car when I get out of the door. And I wish I could tell people how to do that. I think that might help some people's work be a lot easier. And I also think it might be helpful that I'm talking to people all day, not about my problems, that I'm not sitting in a cubicle dwelling on my problems. I have a distraction. You do. I have 6 people's lives to talk about that day. So that distracts me from my own life. I think that that's a benefit that I might have over people, like I said, who have their own little office or work from home in their own space. And that must be even harder. You can't even walk out of the hard place for work. So all those things are important for me in my day and I think help me. I don't lose sleep over my clients' lives and hardships and excitements. I do think about them often in my off time. I don't leave them at the door when I leave. Stuff happens every day to me where it will remind me of a client, of a story, or, oh, I wonder how that such and such is doing for them, or I need to check in on the new job, or, I'm constantly thinking about my clients and their well-being. And I think that's natural. I'm an empath. I call a lot of them friends. I'm comfortable talking to my clients outside of the salon. Some people aren't, and that's okay. That's a boundary they can keep to themselves. Not to say I'm out all the time with my clients, but it's on occasion, let's go grab a dinner or let's walk the dogs around the lake or, and those are all great things just to know that that's there and have that connection with people. And that's kind of, for me, I think all those little things come together to help me. And I think knowing I can be a support to somebody is gratifying enough to maybe not dwell on so much I wish I could fix it for them, but they at least know that I feel for them and that I'm here for them. That feeds me. And not to say there are some days I'm like a client specific or several that day were a lot emotionally. Again, whether that's good emotions or not negative emotions, it was on a high level. I will go home those days and just like, I shower. The first thing I do is shower all the hair off. And then I just sit. I just want to sit. Like a little bit of quiet. I don't even like to read in the evenings because my brain doesn't want to take in any more substance.
Yeah, it's understandable.
I'll watch TV because it's mindless. I just try to be self-aware of also how I'm feeling because sometimes too I need to set emotional boundaries with clients and maybe not even verbalize it. I just need to be aware of where that gate is swinging at certain times in life for me. Right? One thing that's hard when you're sharing emotion with clients, whether they're good emotions or bad emotions, we share them in the course of 10 to 12 weeks over 100 times. We say the same stories over and over because in those 10 to 12 weeks, all those people need to be caught up on our own lives. Sometimes there's things that we don't share because we're not ready to talk about it. Every appointment for the next 6 to 10 weeks. And then when those people come back, they're going to want to ask, how is such and such situation? As they should. They're being kind. But again, it brings that up, that you have to be strong enough to face it, to talk about it in the next rotation of 6 to 8 weeks all over again. We do set some of those boundaries where I need to process my own grief to be a little bit stronger before I'm ready to start talking about it with people this many times a day, or my own sadness and even excitement. There's some great stories, and I will tease with my coworkers. I'm like, I'm just tired of talking about it. I want to tell everybody, but at this point I'm just tired of talking about it. So, there's that too, where you just stop because it's like, okay, I've talked enough about it. I try to be as self-aware as I can. And we're always learning. We're always growing. Learning to be an active participant in someone's emotional life is important to me for the people who I care about. I have a small circle, but it's a very intimate circle. And that's more important to me than having a large circle. If you'd asked me that at a younger age, I don't know if that's what I would have said. But as I look back, even in my younger years, it was always a smaller circle. Like I always had really important few people in my life. And I've counted on those people through various stages of my life. That's important to have people outside of clients, but also to have clients. It's just a very different experience. Those are all just various ways I try to take care of my own well-being. I share those people. People like to ask. I share different meditations with people, or workout plans, or we've talked about diets and exercise, or even fun restaurants, or a movie, or a new experience in your area. Just that sense of community. It feels more like a community.
Yeah.
Than a job. And that helps too.
That's beautiful. That's such a beautiful way to wrap this up. Building that sense of community in your life, that network of support, is so critical. What I learned from you is how important self-awareness is, how important setting boundaries are. And honestly, that guide you mentioned from L'Oreal, I think I'm going to download it because I'm pretty sure there's...
Oh, it's applicable to any... Exactly. I mean, it can go to any person. It can go to any job almost.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. Other industries can benefit from this.
And it's called Head Up. No, Head Up.
Head Up.
Hold your head up.
L'Oreal.
We're going to help you. Yes, L'Oreal Professionals. It's a great resource, and there's more out there. They're not the only one.
This podcast is designed to help busy business leaders create an inspired and engaged workforce. I am building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion: taking care of people at work. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you know someone who I should interview or should be part of this community, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.